then we'll try to create a poll after that. Mhm. Okay. All right, guys. So again, thanks for joining today's session. And so today we are starting our first session of April, which is how to start your career in Salesforce ecosystem. This is the part one with Avinav Gupta and Vyom Jain. So I think all of you already know Abhinav and Vyom. These are quite famous and the idols of our Salesforce ecosystem. Let me give some brief about Abhinav. So Abhinav Gupta is basically a founder of Concreto apps, and also Abhinav is a Hall of Fame in Salesforce MVP and also a Salesforce architect. Apart from that, we have another extreme speaker today, Vyom Jain. So he's a managing director and a business unit head in Nagaro, and quite active in the Salesforce ecosystem. And also, we are very proud to say like Nagaro is also one of our sponsors, and Vyom helped us a lot in the past in order to like arrange some sessions in Nagaro campus. So thank you so much, Vyom, sir, for all your help and support for this group. We are really thankful to you. So I'm your co-host today, and Harshit Sharma is the host who's leading this session today. But on behalf of Harshit, I am try to conduct this session today. Okay, so I'm your co-host. I'm Sushant. I'm a senior software engineer in NCR Corporation, leading this New Delhi developer group since last 1.5 years. And also, I'm a platform a champion. And a Journey to Salesforce mentor. I have speak 3 times in a Journey to Salesforce event, and I have more than 4 years of experience in Salesforce domain. So we are a New Delhi Salesforce developer group. We are basically revive or we are basically in existence since last you can say more than 5 years. Okay, and these are some our social media links. You can we are really active on Twitter, LinkedIn, and also we if you want to check out our past Impact Salesforce Saturday sessions, and also if you want to learn about our initiatives, you can directly visit www.newdelhisfdcdug.com. Impact Salesforce Saturday. So this is one of our main initiative. With that initiative, we basically uh, conduct sessions every Saturday of each month without skipping anyone. Thanks to this awesome Salesforce community and also its speakers. With the help of them, we from last 1 year we are not skipping any Saturdays. We have conducted sessions on each Saturdays, and we are like trying to do that in future as well. Okay, so if you want to learn our from something from our past sessions, then these are some links, and also you can check out our upcoming sessions, which is scheduled in April. So these are some links. Talent Central. So Talent Central is basically one of our new initiative. So it's like a matchmaking site where we are connecting students, or where we are connecting job seekers who are looking to build their career in Salesforce, but having experience less than 1 year as of now. So you can register themselves in Talent Center. So currently Central is down due to some maintenance work, but definitely we will update you. So this is basically here you can register as a student, or you can also, if you are a part of HR team, then you can register over there and you can look for the student profile. So we have more than 2,000 students profiles, active profiles over there, and also we have more than 25 HRs registered over there, and interviews are still going on. So definitely this is, and also I would really happy to share that one of our aspirant will get got placed in Concreto IO, Abhinav sir's company, and that was our first success story. So thank you so much, Abhinav sir, for believing in us and believing in our this new initiative. Thank you so much. Mentorship Central. So this is one of the oldest initiative we have. It's around like 4 years old program. So again, it's a matchmaking site where we are connecting mentees with their mentors. So people who are looking to learn Salesforce, or who are looking for a guide, or to those who can teach them how to explore your career in Salesforce. So you then this particular portal is for you. If you can register over there as a mentee, or if you are already an expert in Salesforce domain and want to share your knowledge with other guys, so definitely you can register over there as a mentor, and then you can connect with both over there, and you can start your learnings. So again, this is a good initiative you can participate in. So as a whole, we as a New Delhi developer group, this is our like vision. This is what we want to plan. So every student journey have a few phases. Like they, first of all, they will learn, and now they will get they will look for some places from over there they can have their hands on, and on the basis of their theoretical knowledge as well as the practical knowledge, they will try to find out jobs in any of the ecosystem, not specific to Salesforce only, but other ecosystems as well. So what we are trying to do, we are just want to provide a dedicated path for those aspirants, so that they can have a chance, or so that they can get some opportunities to get jobs in Salesforce. So we are, as I already mentioned, you can learn Salesforce things from our Impact Salesforce Saturday sessions every Saturdays. And on the basis of that, we have also launched one initiative called Let's Implement, from where we conduct a cohort in which we assign 4 or 5 mentees to each mentor, and that mentor will train those mentees. And in this particular initiative, we actually build a few projects which consist of some admin aspects as well as a developer kind of things. Okay, so that will give a brief skill set to you, so that you can sit in the interview, and you can have a chance. Okay, and again, talent center I already explained. So if you are a new, or if you are looking for a job in Salesforce, or if you plan your career in Salesforce, definitely you can connect with us, and we will more than happy to help you. Journey to Salesforce. So this is not initiative of New Delhi. It's basically initiative by our awesome Indian Devil Relation team. So this particular initiative is basically for people having experience more than 1 year, or they are expert in other domains, but they want to switch in Salesforce ecosystem. So this is the right place. This is the first place. Every person, every expert in Salesforce ecosystem will recommend you to join this particular initiative. Okay, if you want to build your career in Salesforce from the scratch. So again, this is one of the great initiatives by our Salesforce development team. Really important slide. I would like to thank all our volunteers for their hard work and dedication to make each Impact Salesforce Saturday sessions that much successful every week. Uh, Without them, it won't be possible for us to conduct these kind of sessions every week. Okay, yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. I would like to shout out few names: Praveen Goli, Aman, Shalini, as well as Harshit, Anil, and Megha, Divya. So these are the guys who are really active, really active in our New Delhi developer groups, and they are also managing other volunteers as well. So thank you so much, guys. So you can follow us on our various channels. We are active on all the social media links. We are really active on LinkedIn, Twitter, and we also have our official YouTube channel. So you can subscribe. You can connect with us over there. Last but not least, I would like to thank all our sponsors uh, like uh, for all their support and guidance. And okay, all right. So with that, I am done with that, and I am handing over the session to Abhinav sir. Abhinav sir, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Sushant. Thanks for the good overview. Uh, I don't know what is the audience nature and how we should structure this whole conversation. But Sushant, can we do a quick poll? Because if we talk, let's say, more about developer thing, then it might not be very relevant for QA or admin type people or freshers. So is poll available?
Yeah, sir, I'm
And in the meantime, you're working on poll. First of all, am I audible? You can use reactions to just do a thumbs up if I'm audible clearly. Yeah, okay. There are a few thumbs up. Thank you. So in the meantime, when Sushant is figuring out the whole thing, I think everybody of us wants to do good in career and build something really well, which they can be proud of. I just want to take 2 to 5 minutes to cover Japanese things, which I really like a lot, and I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully, the right one. Can you share? See this ikigai image?
Yep.
Yeah. See, this is something is coming from a book, and I am lucky to find this image on the web as well. And it basically distributes our work life, or in general our life and our purpose. That's what the ikigai is like. What is the reason for a being? So some things are which you are very much passionate about, you love to do, and you are very happy when you are doing that. So that's a red circle. Then there is a blue circle that you are good at few tasks or few skills or some things which you are really excellent or good. Then there is a yellow circle. There are skills or things, if you do, you can get a payment, you can get paid about. And then there is a green circle. Green circle is the world and what they really want, what is the current need. So let's start from this side. So what it says is, if you uh, do something which you love and this also fulfilling what the world needs, then it sort of becomes our mission. It is helping the world. And what happens in this zone sort of is that you feel delighted and you have a sense of fullness that you're helping people. Notice there is no pay here, or there might be a pay, but chances are less, especially in this region. And but you feel happy. Like typically all non-profit things which you are doing, this is something we typically all love to give back. That sort of becomes our passion. We sooner or later realize after giving back. And this intersection between world needs, love, and passion, it gives you a sense of delightness and fulfillment. And many companies and many individuals are volunteering these days to do that. But if we go down, then there is another intersection, this one, which intersects between what you love, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. So in this zone, there is a lot of excitement again, because you're trying to do something what you love and you're trying to help people, but you're not very good at this thing. And you might not be passionate about this thing, and you're getting paid as well. So there is some excitement, you're helping, like helping people, but there can be a sense of uncertainty. Similarly, if we go more down, like this portion is mainly, I think people love to emphasize more on this part, like what we can get paid for, what is the highest paying skill, highest paying job. And it doesn't matter sometimes, like whether it is our passion, if it is really our life's mission or goal, if it is really solving a world's problem or not. So if we see this thing and then we combine it with what we good at, sometimes it becomes our profession, and sometimes it becomes our vocation. Can you anybody tell me what is the difference between a profession and a vocation? So this is something you can research about if you don't want to speak right now, but this image definitely speaks. If you just see the intersection of these two circles, you can get paid and you are good at something. So that sometimes becomes your profession, but vocation is something you're solving the world's problem and you're getting paid as well. And coming into this zone now, this is basically you're good, you're getting paid, you're solving world's problem, you're getting comfortable, but again you're feeling empty. Why you're feeling empty? Because you are getting well paid, you're good at this thing, you're solving world's problem, but you don't love that part. The love is missing. You don't enjoy that thing. Then we go a little up where there is a payment, you are good, you love, but you're not helping anybody in the world. So you feel satisfied. There is a feeling of positive, but there's no feeling, sorry, of any positive impact on the world. So you think that you're just doing good for yourself, but you're not helping anybody. So this is where I think all of us revolve many times in our life, and ikigai is something which sort of overlaps in all of this. And if you follow recent trends, like even Priyanka Chopra, she came up with a book called Unfinished. So if a personality like her, she says that her life is still not finished, she's still figuring out what is the perfect mix. So all of these guys are trying to say the same thing. We don't know what we are really meant for unless we really enjoy doing that, we really feel passionate about, and we somehow get paid as well for that. And again, if that thing also solves the world's problem, then nothing like it. Anyway, I will not go much into that, but I will highly recommend that if you have not read this Ikigai book, definitely go through it. Go through the Zen principles and minimalistic life. That will help you in general in your career. And we'll go back to Sushant briefly now. Sushant, Harshit. Harshit, your
Yeah,
voice
hi,
is.
Harshit, you are breaking actually.
We have checked on our end, but unfortunately, we are not able to. Hello. Now am I audible?
Bit better, but still
Am
breaking.
I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So Abhinav sir and Vyom sir, actually, I am not able to see any option here. So I guess we don't have uh, the polling functionality as of now. Okay.
Okay, no worries then.
But we can check like by chat. I will ask our participants.
We can have a
Uh,
raise of hands.
yeah.
We can have a raise of hands.
Or we can also ask question, how many of you are admin or developer? If you are admin, then just write admin, or if you are a developer, just write a developer in the chat.
Mostly developer and students.
Right, right, right.
And so few of them are developers, but from the other backgrounds like Python developers and
Informatica,
yeah.
PHP.
So Sushant, we have approx 30 minutes, 37 minutes left. So how do you want to structure the sessions? Like, should I take 10, 12 minutes and then pass it over to Vyom sir, or?
Yeah, Vinay sir, like you can share your thoughts with us for more 5 or 10 minutes, and then we will pass it on to Vyom sir. And then in the end, if you have some 5 or 10 minutes of buffer, then we will take some questions from our audience.
Right. I was thinking one other thing, that
Uh-huh.
I shouldn't bore anybody with anything which I don't know if it will be relevant. I will tell. Probably if there are questions with the audience, if me and Vyom can directly
Okay.
take questions, that can be another option too.
Yeah.
Avinash sir, what we can do, we can start with Vyom sir, and then in the last we will have then question answer round. Whatever the questions our participants have, or also I have few questions to ask you on behalf of our participants. What I got on LinkedIn or Twitter, and then
Okay.
with that we will wrap up the session. Yeah. So
Okay.
Sure.
Vyom sir, over to you. You can start.
Okay, so I'll possibly take around 20 minutes. I have a small presentation which I would like to present. Let me know if you're able to see the screen.
I can see it, sir.
Great. So thank you so much for having me here, for having this opportunity to share my learnings with you. Just a brief about me. I am heading the CRM and ERP business units at Nagarro. Proud father of two daughters. One is 11 years, turning 12 this summer, and another one is 5 years. I have a unique hobby of collecting fountain pens and writing in ink. So I definitely I'm a fond collector of fountain pens. That's a unique hobby. I would be more than happy to connect with you on LinkedIn and on Twitter. So these are my connects for LinkedIn and Twitter. Okay. So perhaps I think Sushant, you covered these slides already. So I'll just skip it in the interest of time as well. Oops. Oh, so sorry. I think I was showing something to my younger daughter. She's 5 years, and I don't know what jumbled up here. Okay. Let me do this. Let me say Bhag Gorilla Bhag. So what is Bhag? So I'll pick it up from Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, or rather it's Built to Last. Good to Great is the next book that he wrote. Jim Collins, in his book, gave this term Bhag, which is big, hairy, audacious goals. So my friends, I think I would really want you to focus on having very, very big goals, very audacious goals, and big and hairy. And that's where the gorilla picture came in. So your goals need to be a bit scary. They must prompt you to work outside of your comfort zone, and which also kind of shows how confident you are, and maybe a bit of arrogance is required at times, but you need to be humble. But I think to achieve these goals, you definitely need to show a lot of commitment, a lot of motivation, a lot of learning. So that's where I think that builds up your confidence and helps you move forward in the software industry. Not just Salesforce, I'm talking about in general. I think it's very important to have really scary goals, which keeps on motivating you to perform better. And I think Abhinav did present the concept of Ikigai very, very well. I myself had an opportunity to read this book in the month of January, and I was really impressed by this book. And there is an extension to this in Jim Collins' book, this concept of Bhag, which is a kind of these three circles, the intersection of these three circles, where it talks about what you are deeply passionate about and what you can be the best in the world and what drives your economic engine. So definitely the work that you're doing, you should be very, very passionate about it. And you should need to ensure that you have to be the best in the world for while you are performing what you are doing at your work. And this, in fact, should also be supplemented by your economic engine, which means that you should be paid for it. So that's the motivation for driving you to achieve your bhag. So I'll perhaps move on and talk about what the Salesforce economy looks like in the coming years. This is based on the result or the report from IDC. And they've said that there would be almost 4.2 million new jobs that would be created between 2019 to 2024. And this would be generating almost a revenue of $1.2 trillion globally. This is a huge number, and this is definitely something that that kind of gives us the confidence that Salesforce economy is going in the right direction, which helps us move forward and helps us achieve our goals. Moving on, I think, as I was mentioning, that to achieve your bhag or your goals, I think it's very important that you have a keenness or a willingness to learn, right? And if you are willing to learn, if you're willing to spend those extra hours, go extra mile for enhancing your learning, I think you'll go places. You'll go around the world. You'll learn a lot. You will grow in your career. I think that's something which is very important. So a continuous learning curve is very important for all of us. And this just to mention some of the sources that would enhance your learning journey. I think Trailheads, everybody knows that Trailheads is one of the best sources. Udemy and Pluralsight has also got some good sources. I think Udemy has got some wonderful courses. Pluralsight has got some good courses from Gaurav Khetrapal as well. And I think both of these are great sources for learning Salesforce. Then I think we talked about the mentorship program in the Salesforce ecosystem, but maybe you can also identify the mentors at your office, within your team. Some seniors who have been working in the Salesforce ecosystem for long, they could be your mentors. Then we definitely have these awesome community events, which could be a great source of learning. And I would strongly suggest that you join most of these events and try to get into a good connect with the people who are presenting and the other peers who are or the community people who are joining these events. Then I think hands-on is something which is very, very important. It's really important that you continue doing hands-on, not just going through those Trailhead sessions. I mean, I have seen people, I'll be very, very blunt at times, so just excuse me for being blunt, but I have seen people who are going through those Trailheads just for the sake of doing badges, not doing hands-on. I think that's something that we should definitely avoid. Maybe it takes more time to complete your Trailhead module, but I would strongly suggest that whatever instructions are there and if it is possible for you to do those hands-on exercises, you should definitely do that. Then I think sharing your knowledge. So sharing your knowledge in this community event, or maybe in your office. I think that's one of the greatest sources of continuing your learning journey. And then you should prep up for certifications. You should appear for certifications, give your best to get these certifications. And again, I'll be a bit blunt. I have seen people who have done certifications through unauthorized sources. I think that's something that's not feasible. I think from a longer term career standpoint, I would strongly recommend that you rely on your knowledge and your learnings to achieve those certifications. And when you go in for interviews, I think the interviewer understands. They would check your knowledge of the Salesforce rather than basically the number of certifications that you have. So maintain your integrity. Ensure that you are not using unauthorized means to pass these certifications. All right. I think one of the key aspects is also to understand your customer. At times, developers are, I mean, I have been a developer during the initial phases of my career. I used to kind of go deep into the code, and we have this kind of motivation to just code and not look into a bigger picture or maybe a customer's perspective. So I would strongly recommend that you understand what your customer is all about, understanding the business, what customer is dealing in, what are their problem statements, what are their success metrics, how do they define their success, and just be obsessed with the customer. I mean, customer obsession is something which you need to be passionate about the customer's success. So I'll strongly recommend understanding your customer very well. In fact, you would need to look into the financial statements. You will need to look into the business processes of the customer. You will need to understand who are the stakeholders. So have that perspective of going deep into your customer's landscape, right? Not just the technical landscape, but also the customer organization. Then building up a domain knowledge. I think along with the technical knowledge, it's very important that you build up the domain knowledge. I think yesterday itself, or maybe a couple of days back, Salesforce announced the domain specific certifications in Velocity. And there are industry specific clouds like the financial services cloud, the health cloud. So I think it's very important that you also build up the domain knowledge along with your technical knowledge, right? So moving on, this is again from Jim Collins' book. This is from Good to Great, and you need to be a hedgehog. So what a hedgehog is, it's kind of a small animal, and there's this fox who would always try to pounce upon a hedgehog, and it will try multiple ways to attack a hedgehog. But every time the fox tries to attack a hedgehog, the hedgehog would just open up. It has strong, I would say, blades on its or needle-like things on its body, and the fox is unable to capture the hedgehog. So the saying is that a fox knows many things. It knows many ways to attack the hedgehog, but the hedgehog only knows one important thing, and it is a champion at it, right? So you need to be a champion at whatever you're doing, and you don't need to be worried about what the economic landscape is, or how the projects are shaping up. I mean, if you are very well conversant with your technology, with your customer, with your domain, I think you can be a very, very strong hedgehog. Then this is again an extension of learning. Maybe most of you might have seen this already, but if you improve, this is the power of compounding. So if you improve 1% every day, you at the end of 1 year, you might end up improving by 37 times what you are today. And if you reduce or you get worse every day by 1%, I think you will end up being 3% of what you are today, right? So I think you are responsible for your own worth. So the more knowledge you add, even if you're making some incremental gains just up to the extent of 1% or even less than that, I think that's not important. That would give you a very, very great results over a period of time. And then I think it's also important that you have a mindset of an innovator. The Salesforce ecosystem provides you a wonderful platform to do innovations, to do a lot of learning, do some POCs. So just be curious enough to look into the new areas, do innovations, and it should be a continuous process again, right? So and innovators are the people who are actually customer centric, who think about the customer's problem, and then they kind of come up with some breakthrough solutions for the customer, right? So it's important that you create solutions for the things that customer need, definitely. But then we need to think of those things, even though the customer didn't even know they wanted those solutions, but you are able to provide some solutions which the customer is excited about and which can proactively help them grow their business, right? Yeah, I think having a global mindset is also important. So we work with customers in different geographies, in US, Europe, Australia. And as we work with different customers, I think it's important to understand that the customer in each geography is different, right? So you need to put yourself in customer shoes, their culture, and also I think it's important that you follow the accent. I had issues understanding the accent earlier. I would not deny that. But then you need to focus on what customer is speaking, need to understand that, and then probably build up that skill to follow the accent of the customers in different geographies. Also, it's not just accent. I think it's also important to understand the context, right? So the customers might be speaking about context which is very, very local to them. So maybe if you are speaking with an Australian customer, for example, you might want to read something about Australia, their people. So just to have a quick and some news, some current affairs of that geography. Because often these calls that start with customers, a couple of minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, maybe a quick discussion around what's happening around the world. These days, I think it's mostly COVID that is being discussed. But then I think it's important that you try to engage the customer, try to understand what is relevant in their context, what is relevant in their country. And I think the last point I said is learn to say hello. So hello is hello in German. So even if you start learning a few words, I know German in bits and pieces. I can say hello or good morning, good night, my name, and stuff like that. So just understand the basic words. And if you say such words like hello or uh, ich bin Vyomjen, which is I am Vyomjen in German, I think it kind of, you are able to relate to the customer to some extent, and the customer gets some a bit of comfort factor that comes to the customer in that case. So yeah. Empathy is again another topic which is important. I think you need to build up empathy with customers, your colleagues in the team, with your leaders, with your family. You need to maintain a very healthy work-life balance as well. So you need to understand your family, your spouse, your children. I think you need to understand their perspective as well. But going back to leaders, I think it's important that you need to give due respect to the leaders. Often we think that the leaders or the team leads or the managers are the people who are kind of overheads. They're not contributing to the overall project, but that's not the case. I think there's a lot of effort that everyone puts in in for the success of the project. So you need to have you need to empathize with your leads, your managers also. And of course, you need to understand the perspective of your colleagues, of your customers. That's also very, very critical. Moving on, I think you need to be very, very agile, adaptable, flexible. The customer's requirements are changing at times. What happens is that you are frustrated by the number of changes that the customer is saying, but you need to understand that this might be very, very critical for the customer. The customer at times is not aware of what changes are required upfront. So over a period of time, and that's where I think the agile methodology is important, that over a period of time, you can adapt to the customer needs and wants as they mature, as the project matures. And of course, you need to be your best version every day and do whatever it takes to be your best version. I think that's very, very important. And there's a specific technique called helicopter view. I'm sorry, Sushant, I'll take another couple of minutes. I just need to finish a couple of slides. So helicopter view means that you need to have a very, very high level view of your overall project. So at times what happens is that you are too engrossed in your story or your module that you are developing, and you do not have that complete overview of the project, which at times might impact the quality of your story as well. So just try to think it from a third party perspective as well, or maybe a high level view of the overall needs of the project. Giving feedback is also important, giving and taking feedback. So I think you need to be very, very honest and transparent in not just giving feedback, but also accepting the feedback. So whenever someone gives you feedback, I think it's very important that you do not give a counter feedback. When you're taking feedback from someone, it's something that you should try to think about it and maybe work upon it and see how you can improve. I mean, if that is applicable to you, of course, the other person might be wrong, but you need to critically understand the feedback and then take the next steps on it. One of the things that I would strongly suggest is that you should definitely take as much notes as possible. I have seen people not taking notes, and again, I'm very blunt on it. I would definitely suggest that take as much notes as possible during the meetings. You can apply any of the techniques to take notes, draw mind maps, use images, graphics, maybe take a diary and a pen to take notes, or maybe use a tool like MindMeister or the other ones which can help you take notes. But then do take notes, because that is where I think most of the knowledge is retained from a meeting, and you can take adequate next steps after that meeting. And of course, I think mentoring, we have talked about it earlier. And as you gain more experience, I think you need to become better, not bitter. I think with some experience, at times I've seen that people get arrogant or overconfident, but I think you need to be you need to have that humility, and you need to be calm. And being calm is something which is kind of a sign of strength, and being humility is a sign of strength. And your attitude is something which is the key. I think it's the most important thing. When I take interviews, I think attitude is something I definitely check during the interviews. Then I think one of the aspects is the Stockdale paradox. So you should have that confidence, that faith that you will be victorious in the end. There might be some challenges, but at the same time, I think you should also you should do some reality check and face the brutal facts of your current reality. So you should definitely look into the challenges and work on those challenges, not just be confident that you would be victorious at the end, but do those reality checks. And to do those reality checks, I think it's important that time to time you identify these blind spots which are there, which are unknown to you. Maybe there are other people who know about those blind spots. So you do self-assessment, you take feedback from people, you have a look at those blind spot or those reality checks from fresh eyes, and also you work with your mentor to identify those blind spots. So that's from me. I would be happy to connect with you, as I said, on LinkedIn and Twitter. Over to you, Sushant.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vyom sir. That was really nice. Like all the slides, and there are lots of things what I have also learned today. So yeah, thank you so much. All right, so guys, I have provided you the access to unmute yourself. So if anyone have any questions, they can unmute themselves and start, ask questions to Abhinav sir or Vyom sir. Or let me know if you are, yeah.
Yeah, hi. Actually, I'm having total 11 years of experience in, IT. It's combined of mainframe plus Informatica Unix. So I'm just trying to, switch my career to Salesforce. So I would like to know, how should I start? From where, should I start?
Abhinav sir, you can
And
answer.
will it be a good choice, to move from Informatica to Salesforce as well?
Yeah.
Anisha, thanks for your question. I would say if you have 11 years of IT experience, it sort of depends on the industry with which you are working with Informatica, and Salesforce is also going very vertical with different industries. So that can be a one common overlap. Let's say you are a lot in insurance sector. So you can try finding companies who are especially focused on insurance part and then go that way. Apart from that, Informatica is definitely somehow related here and there with Salesforce, but you need to talk to few Salesforce partner, maybe Nagairo, Viom. We can also have a conversation, and we need to see what you have done really in Informatica and what you are willing to do next with Salesforce. And let me just take a 2 minutes. Yeah, let me just quickly share my screen again. Let me know if you can see this thing.
Yeah.
So see,
Yeah.
these are typical 5 paths Salesforce professional takes. So admin, as you all know, they configure the thing. Architect, eventually we know. Developer, we know. I would say this is most undervalued path, and Rupesh Bhatia is one of Salesforce MVP. He's also pressing a lot on that. So based on your Informatica experience, based on what you have done in your career so far, I'm assuming you have talked to a lot of customer, understand their pain points, solve their problems. So if you bring that industry experience, that consumer empathy, which Vyom was mentioning, the way to interact with customer, take the requirements, get them delivered. Salesforce is easy technology. It will not be a big learning curve for you. It's not that tough. So it can be an option for you, but I will let Vyom add his thoughts as well.
Right. I think very well said, Abhinav. I think I'll just add that with Informatica, perhaps you've got a good integration experience. So we do have a good integration platform available. We have MuleSoft, and we do integrations with other tools, including Jitterbit, and even with Dell Boomi and all. Maybe you can try to look into the area of integration if that is something which is of interest to you, along with building up your Salesforce expertise, so you are able to appreciate how you would be able to to integrate the Salesforce Salesforce Cloud along with the third-party systems using your integration experience. Does that answer your question?
Yep. Thank you, Will. Thanks, Abhinav sir.
Hi, my name is Aman Tiwari and I have 2 years experience as a Salesforce developer. So my question is like I have done and I have gone through the same modules which you have said, like do the trailheads and have good knowledge. But like I want to ask the question is like when we get a project, then what should be an approach from a developer and how should he look into it and how should be like what should be his thinking while taking up the things in project?
Yeah.
Vyom sir.
Yeah, I'll take that. I think that's a very, very relevant question. So when you start off a project, as I said, I think being a developer is definitely something which is an asset, right? So you need to understand the customer's business also. So whenever we start the development, you might have done some projects where you have started off with looking at the SRS or the requirements document. I think it's very important that you look into what the customer is working on, whatever landscape that they have, what business units they have, and how their organization is structured. I think that would give you a better view before you start a project. You can always reach out to your team lead, your business analyst in the team, or maybe your managers to get a better view of things. In fact, they would be happy to share such knowledge with you so that you are up to speed. And then you can, when you do the development, I think you would have a better perspective of what the customer ask is and how the customer would be satisfied. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, yes, sir. And one more thing, sir, you know, when we start doing the development, everyone gets a small part of the development, right? Everyone doesn't get everything to develop. Then like other team members, what they are doing and how should be able to learn that what they're doing, what should be like, how should I go for that?
I think, yeah, and that's a very valid question because that again depends on you. So if you are curious, I believe you should reach out to your lead, your team members, your colleagues in the team. Ask them that what they are doing, get a better picture, get a bigger picture view of what the project is all about. I mean, you need to spend your additional time on understanding such aspects and looking into more things than what your story is. But then, of course, that would give you a bigger picture view. You might end up spending like 10 hours, 12 hours a day. But then I think as a beginner in the Salesforce ecosystem, having around 2 years of experience, if you try to spend those additional hours to understand from your peers, your colleagues, your leads, ask for some documentation, perhaps that you can go through. If you have doubts, questions, just ask your peers and your managers. I think they would be, in my opinion, they would be more than happy to feed you with such knowledge. Abhinav, if you want to add.
Yeah, I think very good points, Vyom sir. I would say, see, as Vyom is also saying, one way is client, let's say, gave you a task to, let's say, build a component. So first question you should ask to yourself in general now in Salesforce world is clicks versus code is going on everywhere. So do you really need to build that component? Because now your value going forward after 2-3 years will be that you know that, okay, there is a simple setting, you can go in setup area, turn that on and the job is done. Similarly, if you have to really write a trigger, even if your solution architect is suggesting something, probably have an internal team discussion before going to your architect or client that can't we do this thing? Can we do this thing? These are good questions. And again, don't take every questions directly to your architect or your client or your team lead. Do an internal brainstorming. It might take some extra time, as Vyom is also saying, that you have typical job hours, and then these things are sort of your own investment in your own self. So there is no harm in doing that. Over tea or coffee, just debate with your friends and peers ki boss ye, why is this happening? This why is very important. And even with clients also, if you see that client is willing to talk to you, some clients are, no, we have written the task, do it, we don't worry. But if you see there is this window open, you have to see that window. There is a window, then give creative ideas. That I think that if you don't use table, you use a list here, that is good. If you don't put this color, you use this color. So these ideas, these thought exchanges will actually take you up to the next level. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, sir.
Aman, do you have any other question?
No, Sushant, that's all from
All,
my end.
all right, thank you. Yeah, so we have one question in the chat. Gurusha Aswani asked, like, sir, I have done BSc past course. So is Salesforce is good platform for me to build my career?
Why not? I
And the
mean,
wo-
who
yeah.
stops you from building up your career in Salesforce? I think what you need is a motivation to learn, I would say, right? Just follow the mentors, follow the suggestions from your mentors, and I think you can definitely build up your career in Salesforce. We have, in fact, seen people coming from graduation who are not maybe BTech or engineers. Even they have built up a career in Salesforce. So I don't see that as a challenge. It's just about your motivation, your curiosity to learn, and I think it's definitely something that can be done.
So Avinav sir and Vyom sir, let's suppose if we have some participants from non-technical background, okay, then what's the learning path for them in Salesforce ecosystem? How they can start? Means like what are the careers they can choose for, and then what kind of certifications, because see, certifications really matters, so like if you're sitting the exam, so what kind of certifications usually people do, because see, because on LinkedIn or Twitter someone some of them reached out to me, and they are from non-technical backgrounds, but they are like asking me, Sushant, how to prepare for PD1 certification. So when I asked, are you from technical background? They said, no, I'm from BA. So at that time, it's really difficult for me to understand that like this is not a right time to go for this certification. So I will suggest them, first of all, learn what is Salesforce and why company uses Salesforce, some basic understanding of the Salesforce, and then go for like some the admin certification, and then you will plan for that PD ones. So these kind
Absolutely.
of questions, yeah. So what's the ideal learning path for these kind of people?
No, I think, see, from my perspective, as you said, that doing a Salesforce admin pathway first, I think that's very important that you go through for anyone. I mean, anyone who is starting their career, be it technical, non-technical, I think I would strongly suggest that you go through the Salesforce admin pathway, right? If possible, take a certification. If not, I mean, if you're not willing to take a certification, then you, at the end of doing your Salesforce admin pathway, you determine what your stronger areas are, right? So then you need to figure out if you are going into technical, or you want to code, or you want to take a consultant's pathway, or maybe do those industry specific certifications which are there offered by the Salesforce. I think it's important first to understand your strengths and then take a course accordingly. Abhinav, if you want to add.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not specifically for the BSc question. I can tell a bit about my story as well. I am from a mechanical refrigeration background myself. And after that, I didn't see much hope in the industry. So I started fixing computers, hardware part, like assembling machines and those things I have done in my like 2000. It was the year 2000. And then I was doing distance education in computer for next 2-3 years. And when I was applying to job, I am from Jaipur. So Jaipur, in you can imagine, 2000 was no IT market at all. It was hardly one or two top players. So what I tried to do is I went into an IT company. I know that time Visual Basic, and they used to work in Java. So I requested them that I don't need any money. Just let me in, let me stay in your premise, and I will try to create value. And I will not ask for any stipend or any remuneration. I just want an exposure. So they let me in, thankfully. And then I have to sit in their garage. They had a garage for people who are coming like this, who have no solid college degree in IT or anything. But we are given random tasks like format this document, write a test case, and then it is a random thing. I was a Visual Basic guy. I was given sometimes a JavaScript task, sometimes a Java task, but I kept on, like, life is a test match. So I just stayed on the field. I just keep like playing, try to stay like pass the ball, dodge the ball, whatever I can do. I stayed on the pitch, and after 8 months, somehow Java was the key thing there. So I managed to get hold of Java. They gave me few projects. I just tried to show them that I have the attitude to do the things. If you give me, I will work hard. I will never not bragging to them that I stayed 16 hours in office, because it was a corner garage. We used to sit there. We used to work there. Nobody comes to see. And that was the kind of environment in IT companies at that time. Now it is, I think, way more friendly these days. So eventually I get a breakthrough. I got, I think, 3,000 as first salary after 8 months. So that was the starting point. So in general, the bottom line, which I'm trying to say, even if you're fresher, even if you're from other industry, put money aside. If you go to a company, give a confidence that just give me 2-3 months. I'm ready to prove my value. I don't need any money. Money will come sooner or later. And I will again give a small example. I was not very sure about Salesforce in 2013. So I tried to go into mobile at that time. I thought mobile is the next big thing happening in the world since 2010. So I joined a startup in US. They were paying what I'm getting in my last company, much less than that. And they asked me if even if you want to invest, we are looking to give you a currency note. This is a way in US that if you, let's say, give $100 into company, they will give you convertible or currency notes, which will be paid when the company is sold or acquired. So I did that for 1 year. I learned mobile and things. So it is again an investment which I did after what, 12 years or 13 years of industry experience. So be ready to put everything you have on the table and then enjoy the game. That's another way to go around.
That's a great journey, Abhinav. I mean, that's hats off to you for so much of hard work and passion. And I think that's where all the greatness comes, right? I think all that hard work that you have put in is something which has that's why you are kind of helping us understand how we can make our journey in the Salesforce ecosystem possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, great,
Sure.
great story.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So my story is just sharing, not to show like I'm how great I am. I'm sorry,
No,
but it's just to
No,
just to
that
help
is
No, I
like
think
that everybody is in the same boat. That's my
right,
what I'm trying to say.
right. I think absolutely. I think just to emphasize Abhinav's point, I think it's very important that you just hang in there. You do your best. You give whatever it takes, and I'm sure you would be achieving success sooner or later. And I think the money part, as Abhinav said, that would definitely come sooner or later. So you don't need to be worried about that. It's your initial phases. Even I am a commerce graduate. I mean, most of the people won't know that, but I am a commerce graduate and then moved on to do my MCA. After doing my commerce BCom honors, I was there for 2 years preparing for MCA, and then went into doing an MCA 3 years course. So initially, I think there's a lot of effort and there's a lot of confusion as well. I'm sure that there's a lot of confusion. You're not sure where your career is heading, but I think it's important that you continue with your passion and you just do whatever you want to do, and getting successful is just a matter of time. I mean, I think that's something that Abhinav has also mentioned, and I would also believe that getting successful is something which is a end result. But all your effort, hard work, or passion is something which is what it takes to get there. Yeah.
Yeah. So answer one question from Puneet Nair. Any insights on the future of marketing cloud in India?
I mean, if you know any marketing cloud developers, just let me know. I mean, I'm not going into the future. I'm talking about the present.
I
It's
guess we have Shibu with us. I think nobody is better than Shibu in order to answer this question.
Always want to pull me into the spot. So yeah, definitely marketing cloud is on the rise. Like Yom said as well, like like there's a lot of open positions that I see right now in marketing cloud. Very difficult to get people. One, because there is no free dev org, right? So only partners and customers who have access to it, like only they are able to learn. So we're trying to see how we can do it from the community perspective. We are having a few sessions, um, trying to say increase that knowledge and see, like from a partner's perspective itself, how can we actually help the community grow. and get more and more people into Marketing Cloud. So that's one of the goals that we have for this year. So, but from an industry standpoint, definitely a lot of need for Marketing Cloud experts, and mainly with the B2C solution architect, and the cross cloud push that Salesforce is giving. I've seen a lot of push being given to like Marketing Cloud and how it works into that whole ecosystem. So those who are interested, definitely it would be great to even pursue that area as well.
Right. I think Marketing Cloud is one of the hottest technologies or one of the hottest areas currently. We are short of Marketing Cloud experts right now, and extending to Marketing Cloud, I think there's a lot of need for Interactive Studio or maybe CDP or Customer 360. These are the kind of buzzwords that we are hearing a lot from the customers these days. Everybody is moving on to everybody who is on Salesforce landscape. On Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, I think sooner or later they are planning to move to Marketing Cloud, and there's a lot of traction that we see. So definitely a very, very strong future beholds for Marketing Cloud, in my opinion.
Okay, so I have one question. We have some participants who are experts or professionals from other backgrounds, but they don't have a direct experience in Salesforce. Okay, so and if they want to sit in the interviews, if we want, they are ready because see, they have prerequisite knowledge. Okay, they know the basics of like HTML, JavaScript, CSS, which is the foundation for all the programming languages. Okay, so what are the things you guys recommend to those peoples in order to plan for interviews for the Salesforce?
Abhinav, you want to take it?
From my side, what I will say is like anybody coming from, let's say, I see Python people here and Java guys, and even with freshers who have good JavaScript, Java, whatever skills they have. So we don't interview them on Salesforce, even if they say that they have done, let's say, 5 tailored badges or 500 tailored badges. We ask them what is still your best skill, and that's how I think many companies do that, not just us. So be sure about what skill you have and then play on that. And again, somebody was asking about the Marketing Cloud. So I am not very good at Marketing Cloud, but I used MailChimp for some marketing thing. Then I went into Marketing Cloud and did some configuration. So these are almost same tools from like the Marketing Cloud perspective, and same as like programming. So Salesforce, I would still say, is easier if you're coming from Java and Python. Probably Java, Python, you can assume it is Maruti 800, and Salesforce is a top class Mercedes-Benz with all the bells and whistles and many things automated. You don't need to see what is going under the hood. So it will be easy.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, even at our organization, we have done a lot of cross-skilling of people from Java or .NET background. People who were on bench, perhaps, who were not getting projects on Java, .NET, and other technology areas. We did their cross-skilling in Salesforce, and I mean, they were able to scale up. We were able to make them billable to clients. They went through the customer interviews also. So I think it's really, as Abhinav rightly said, I think Java and Python, with that skill set, I think it would not be difficult for you to scale up on Salesforce also.
Yeah. Okay, and so one more question. This is for the freshers or the student community if they are planning their career in Salesforce. So in the initial phases, they don't have projects. Okay, but in interviews, interviews ask, do you ever have a work on any project or something like that? Okay, so what are the ways they can put something in their resumes which shows their hands-on?
I think I would disagree a bit to this, because if you are a fresher, as Abhinav also mentioned, I think if you're a fresher, the expectation is never that you have worked on a project, right? We would not ask you to show your project. I mean, we hire a lot of freshers every year. we never check for any project implementations. What we would essentially look is, even if they have not done Salesforce, if they do not have the Salesforce background, we'll perhaps check their conceptual knowledge, perhaps the OOPS concepts, or any programming language that you have done, Java, .NET, anything that you have done. We'll basically be looking at the fundamentals, right? If you have done Salesforce, probably we'll try to understand what are things in Salesforce that you have touched upon. Maybe the basic objects, for example, in Sales Cloud, what is lead, account, opportunity, just a basic definition of it, and then maybe some basic questions around those objects. I think what's important is that whatever you do, you have to be very, very confident about that, right? So you should be able to support whatever you have done. Even if you have done a project in Java, for example, or C++, or any technology area, any object-oriented programming, or non-object programming also. I think it's important that you are able to substantiate what you are saying, right? So the interview is just looking for a hook. They're looking for some details around whatever you have done and your attitude and motivation. So that's pretty much. I don't think that doing a specific project in Salesforce is something that we are looking at. Abhinav, if you want to add.
No, totally correct. If it's too unfair for like company to ask fresher or interviewer to ask fresher for projects, I think nobody does this. And if somebody is really doing that, then don't take it seriously. They don't know what they're doing if they are asking these things.
It doesn't make sense. I mean, it's totally unfair, as Abhinav rightly said. Yeah.
All right. So I know we are like stretching 10 minutes more. Yeah, Aman, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I want to ask, like, nowadays, actually in Indian market, we see that the people, like companies, are expecting the candidates to have both the knowledge as admin as a developer. What if someone have only admin knowledge, and what will be their future? Like, someone is from admin background and he have knowledge in action analytics and some other admin part, but don't have any development knowledge. So how will there be a future in Salesforce in India?
Okay. Abhinav, you want to take that?
Sure. So see, I would say admin is an interesting area in India, and I say interesting because admin role depends on how many companies are actually using Salesforce in India. It's mostly a local kind of role. You can get a remote admin job as well for a, let's say, company based in nearby time zones who can't afford an admin in their own time zone. Let's say London is nearby, the UK area, or anybody that sort, but still people, or let's say not people, companies who are purchasing Salesforce licenses, they would typically hire a full-time admin at least if they are making good investment. Small companies, if they don't have money to spend on admin, they will look for a part-time freelancer or a random admin here and there. But I was initially talking about Indian market. Is now I see many brands adopting Salesforce and basically buying licenses, but still this is not as huge as it is used to be in US and in other developed countries. So it is, I think, a slightly tricky route. What I would say is there is an opportunity for QA guys here. Like, I don't know if there is a QA folks here, but if QA guys, they develop themselves as an admin, learn the admin part, and eventually grow up as a consultant, that role is eventually evolving a lot in India. Like people with like SI partners, like the integration partners or the consulting partners, they need solid consultants because they are the one who can talk to the customer, get the requirement jobs done. And eventually there is another role, which is, even let's not talk about that another role first. There is a CTA, which I know who's not a developer. There are, I think, 2 or 3 CTAs now like that. So CTA is a top certification in Salesforce you can do. So the foundation for doing all that is admin, but the channel going top from admin is, I think, via consultant only, if you don't want to be a developer. And how you can become consultant is, I'm saying QA, because QA I have seen, if a QA is really smart, they spend their initial years testing the product manually and doing things, but they develop a lot of industry specific knowledge, which is very very, very valuable, and domain, we call it domain expertise also. And combined with the Salesforce knowledge, let's say somebody is from insurance sector, he knows how Salesforce works, he knows how insurance sector works, then he can make a very good conversation with anybody who is basically trying to adapt Salesforce in insurance sector, finance sector. So that is a solid, I think, skill and value you are building in your profile.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I totally agree. I think moving from an admin to perhaps a good consultant is something that can be explored for people who are not looking at the development route. Uh, I don't have anything to add, but yeah, I think I totally agree with what Abhinav said. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, guys. So I think we are, I think, running out of time, and we got lots of awesome questions as well. And thank you so much, Avinav sir, and thank you so much, Vyom sir, for all your time again, and thank you so much, Shibu sir, also for giving your thoughts on some questions as well. So I guess, guys, hope we are able to clear few of your doubts. Okay, and the few key points what we take out from this particular session is like number of certifications or number of batches doesn't matter. What matters is the foundation or the skills you have. Okay, and for freshers, projects the projects matters, but the projects you have done in while if you are in college for your internship or something like that. So doesn't matter if that projects are not on Salesforce or on some other technologies, but definitely you should know, because you build that project, nobody else build that project, you build that project, so you should know how you build that, or the better understanding of your projects or whatever the projects you are putting in resume. Make sure you have a good idea of that projects. Okay, just not simply copying the code or copying the resume from other ones. Okay, because these kind of things definitely won't help you in your resumes, and this will again increase your problems while you're interview. Okay, this is the first thing, and the second thing is like number of certification doesn't matter. Okay, just certifications are basically like it's proof you have your hands on. Okay, so as much you increase the number of certifications, your interview will ultimately going to be tough. This is again.
So Sushant, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do the certifications. Of course,
No,
we
no,
are
no.
recommending doing the certifications is important. I mean, it adds a lot of value.
Yeah,
But what I'm trying to emphasize here is that you should be doing it with full integrity and building up
exactly.
the
Yeah,
complete knowledge and then taking the certifications. Of course, certifications matter. I mean, if you are
yeah,
a CTA, or even if you are an application or system architect, that's something which definitely carries weight. But you need to do it with full integrity. That's what I
definitely.
wanted to highlight. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and yeah. All right, so these are some questions what we put in front of our stream speakers today, and thank you so much, guys, for responding that. And guys, we have another part of career guidance session next week with Shipu sir. So if you have any questions related or some doubts, if you have left with you, then definitely try to join us in another session, and we will try to answer the rest of the questions in that session as well. Okay, and with that I would like to thank all the participants, all the speakers. Thank you so much for joining today. Stay blessed, stay connected, and have a great weekend. Thanks everyone, thank you so much for
Thank
joining.
you. Thank you for having us, and goodbye.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks all, bye.